At the beginning of this year, we have a lot of goals to reach: read more books, study more, go to the gym, or learn a language. And if your goal for this year is to learn and become fluent in a language, in this video I'm going to show you how you can reach this goal in this year. Great, so welcome again, and let's talk about how to become fluent. I make this video because when I was a kid, I tried to learn English at school, but I have had a bad experience because the methodology of my teacher was very bad. But when I discovered all the things I'm going to share today with you in this video, you're going to know why I prefer and I love learn languages and all the stuff about learning languages. When you want to learn a new language, there's three important things to know about this language. And the first thing is you need to become fluent. You need to learn effectively. You don't need to waste a lot of time just watching videos on YouTube, just reading ebooks, just another things to try to learn a language. And the most important one is to understand and feel the language. Because if you study grammar, if you study vocabulary and you try to speak, but you don't have results, it's very frustrating, because the idea of a language is to become fluent and understand the language, understand the jokes, understand the culture about that. And that is the objective of more of the people who wants to learn a new language. So let's talk about these three important things. The first thing that anybody needs to do to learn a new language is to choose a methodology. I know this sounds obvious, but most of the people don't choose a methodology. When I ask the people, what is your methodology to learn a language? They tell me things like, I'm watching videos on YouTube, and sometimes I use some apps, or sometimes I try to learn any language watching TV series, or I am studying the grammar rules of a language. But the thing is, most of the people don't have a specific methodology to learn a new language. So this is the first big problem to learn a language, because you don't know what is your first, your second and third step. And I know after 3 weeks, after a month, most of the people get frustrated because they don't know what is the next step. So let's talk about some methodologies. So before to start to talk about methodologies, it's important to know that don't exist a methodology for everybody, because someone learn better reading or writing or watching or just listening. So let's talk about the translation methodology. When we talk about the translation methodology, it's about, if you want to say, for example, how do you say table in Spanish, for example? If you put in a Google Translator, the Google Translator will give you cómo se dice mesa en español. This methodology was the first one in the world. But at this moment, it's very hard, because there is a new methodologies that you can use to learn a language easily. Another methodology is the grammar methodology. When we talk about a grammar methodology, we talk about learn the grammar rules of a new language that you want to learn. But the thing with just focus your learning in the grammar rules is that most of the students who just focus his learning process in the grammar rules become frustrated in 3 months, because they need to think about what is the correct conjugation. And at the end of the day, the most important thing in the languages is confidence. When you feel confidence in any other language you want to learn, you have 50% of all the process. Because when you try to speak, you will be wrong, and that is the idea to learn a new language. To be wrong, to try to improve your skills. But if you don't try to speak the language, to write a language, to read a language, or just to listen the language, you never will get the language. So, grammar is not useful? Sure, of course, grammar is very useful, but the grammar is just a little part of all the things you need to learn in a language. Another methodology is the direct methodology or natural methodology. When we talk about the natural methodology, we are talking about to move to a new language environment. For example, if one day you sleep and you wake up in Guatemala, for example, in Latin America, you need to learn Spanish. But this process can be a little bit difficult because you don't speak any Spanish. But you need to learn Spanish. So you will try a lot to learn Spanish. But the thing is that most of the people there, they can explain you a lot of things with the grammar rules, with vocabulary, or with the culture things. So this is a very, very good one. A lot of people use this methodology, but the thing is that have a pros and cons. The pros is that you need and you just have one way to communication, that is try to learn a language and try to speak the language. But the cons in this case is that someone gets frustrated quickly because you don't have a teacher. If you ask what's the difference between zero and star, for example, it will be very hard for people to explain who is not a teacher because they don't know how to explain that. Another methodology is audiolingual. So when we talk about this methodology, we are talking about listen a lot. The new language or the language you want to learn. This works very, very well at the beginning because you need to know what is the correct pronunciation, how the fluency is of that new language, and the most important thing is your brain going to assimilate all the things, all the pronunciation and all the words of the new language. So this at the beginning is very, very important and is very, very useful for anyone who wants to learn a new language. So the question is, what is the best methodology for me? And this is a very, very good question because I know there is 5 or more than 5 methodology, but for me, what is the best methodology for me? So we need to know that, how I said at the beginning of this video, there is not the perfect methodology because anybody learns in different ways. But for example, in our school, we use a methodology that's combined all these things what we talk about. So if you want to learn how exactly is our methodology and how thousands of students from more than 27 countries in all over the world use this methodology, please click here in the cards and there is another video who explains how our methodology works. How I said, there is not the perfect methodology, but the methodology need to have 3 important things. The first one is a diagnosis. When I talk about the diagnosis is that the student and the teacher knows about how you learn better, what is your real objective for learning a new language, and the most important thing, where and why you're going to use the language. This is just 3 questions about the diagnosis. A complete diagnosis means more than 10 questions. So the objective of the diagnosis is to know how you can learn better, to know the student, and not just about the name or nationality. It's about all the things about the students and how the teacher can support you, or how the program or the methodology can support you to learn better, quickly and easily. The second one is how you're going to learn the language. You're going to focus on grammar, you're going to focus on vocabulary, you're going to focus on a conversation. So this is a very important one. How you're going to learn the different skills you need to know to become fluent in a language. The third one is the support in your learning process. When I talk about support, I'm talking about you need to practice with someone the language. Because if you just learn grammar rules, you can become fluent. You need someone to ask questions. Someone who can explain easily what is the difference, for example, from usted, tú, or vos, for example, or what is the difference between the verb ser or the verb estar. So the first thing you need to do is to choose a methodology. So the second step you need to do to become fluent in any language do you want to learn in this year is to choose a time to learn the language. I know you and me, we have a lot of things to do every day. We have a family, we need to go to the gym, we need to go to school, we need to go to work, we need to go to any part, so we don't have time to spend to learn a new language. But the thing is that if you have a good methodology, you can spend just 15 or 20 minutes per day to learn a new language. And how with just 15 or 20 minutes per day it's possible to become fluent in a new language. So the thing is, when you want to become fluent in a new language, you need to have an immersion in the language. And I know this can sound very difficult because maybe you are in the United States, maybe you're in Canada, maybe you're in Europe or in Asia. So how you can have an immersion in the new language you want to speak? If you are in your own country and for example you want to learn Spanish and you can't go to Spain, for example, or Latin America, there's different ways to have an immersion in the language. My first language is Spanish. So if I want to learn a new language, I need to put all my routine in my new language. For example, my phone, my smartphone, I need to turn on the English version in my smartphone. I need to turn on to Spanish my tablet, for example, my laptop, the TV series I watch, the music I listen, the podcast I listen, and all these things to start to learn the new language. Another important thing is to have conversation with some friends who speaks the language you want to learn by chat, by phone, or by email, for example. And I know this sounds very difficult, but the thing is that if you can continue with this technique for a month, after a month you will going to improve your listening skill, your writing skill, your speaking skill, and your understanding skill of the new language you want to learn. Because it's like that example I say you before. If you are in a Latin America country, so you don't speak any Spanish and you don't have any teacher, your brain going to look for the way that you can communicate with anybody in that country. So this is very important. So organizing your time, it's a very, very, very important thing before you want to start to learn. So organizing all your time, you can reach these two things. The first one is to have an immersion in the language that you want to speak. And the second one is that you don't need more than 30 minutes per day to learn a new language. And I know the best scenario is to travel to a country, get a teacher, and practice there the language that you want to become fluent and to learn. But if you can't, I already give you two important advice to you. But if your idea is to learn Spanish, I invite you to come to my country and learn Spanish together here in Guatemala. And the third step, that is the most difficult for most of the people in the world, is to start. Everybody, or most of the people that watching videos, read blogs or read books, for example, just read and listen and watch the information, and after that they don't do anything. The most important thing is to start now, is to start today. Start with choosing your methodology. Start with organizing your time. And the third one, start now, start today. We have a lot of information to learn and to become fluent in Spanish in this case, but you have another more information about other languages. So start today to learn a new language. If your idea is to learn Spanish and become fluent in Spanish this year, there is a Spanish school totally for free for you. Just click below in the comment box and there will be a link to give you for free our Spanish course. So learning a language is easier than you imagine if you have these three important things. If you have a good methodology, if you have a right methodology, if you organize your time to learn the new language, and if you start right now, if you start today. So thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to watch the next one because we talk a lot about techniques to learn Spanish, techniques to learn languages, that any language you want to speak, and interesting thing about Latin America and all the culture about the Spanish language. Thank you very much. My name is Mario again, and see you the next time.